Hello, good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. Yes, we are back. It's been a minute and it's been some things happening, but we are back and better than ever. Right, ladies?
We're back.
We're gonna we're gonna run our intro and we'll be right back. All right, yes, we are back. So, ladies, it has been a while since I've seen y'all through this screen anyway. It's been a minute. So, let's do a quick catch up. Tell the Facebook world what's been going on, ladies. Don't everybody jump in at once.
I was giving Vanessa
Janetta?
the floor first.
Well, I'm still here just as fabulous as I was when we left. So that hasn't changed at all. Still have the same job. Bless the good God above. These bills got to get paid. Um, yeah, so that's that's really about it for me.
Lisa, hey, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you again after so long. All right, Shanetta, what's been going on in your world?
So I don't even know how long it's really been, but things but things have been well. Things have been good. Kids still off and living the youngest two, their best college lives on our dime. And work is still, the middle schoolers are still being middle schoolers. So
Okay.
everything's great. Everything's fine.
Oh, not that everything's great. All right. So, like Shanetta said, of course, I really don't know how many weeks we've been missing. It feels like it's been a long time, but I'm almost pretty sure it has not been as long as it feels. But we are back. What has been going on in my life? Well, to be honest, what has it been going on in my life? But mothering, working, wifing, um, all of the things, as Shanetta would say, have been happening. The kids are well, the husband yet breathes. So life is good. Life is great. Everything's okay. But so we are back. With everything that's been happening and all the changing of seasons. We have been gone for a minute, but our first conversation back, I wanted it to be about the strength and sacrifice of a woman, which, as you can see, we all are women. And just kind of talking about our personal moments of strength and then the times where maybe we have not felt as strong and have had to lean on the strength of another woman. Like I'll start. So like this week, like I said, so much has been going on, and I had a moment and I had to text the girls like, hey ladies, listen, it's a rough one. I need something. Send it all my way. And I didn't feel any kind of way or no kind of judgment about saying right now I feel like I don't have any answers. Like I don't have a hold on nothing. Whatever it feels at this moment, I need, a sister moment. I need y'all to share some strength with me, share some words of encouragement, some prayers, all of it. And of course the ladies are right there and they jumped right in, and they were there for me. And I think there's times that all women, we have those moments. We have those moments where maybe on Monday I had the world spinning and I was just spinning it and everything was going great. And then by Tuesday, before I know it, the world was cracking on the ground and I wasn't quite sure how to pick up the pieces or where to begin. And we have those moments, and it's okay to have those moments. Um, it may be hard to have those moments. For me, the person that, when you're used to feeling like you're holding everybody else together, it's hard to say, yeah, I'm not together or I'm not okay. It can be hard to acknowledge those feelings or acknowledge those moments, but it is always good to have some friends, people that really care about you and want to see you as your best self in your corner. So, ladies, you want to share?
I would have to say that in listening to your description and talking about the strength that a woman, a mother, a wife has to kind of maintain routinely, pretty much for the sake of others, because that's usually where um the focus or the direction of your strength is going, because you're busy providing and caring for so many different people in so many different ways, that a lot of times we often kind of forget that sometimes we have to reserve our strength for ourselves. um and I think that for me as a woman, there have been, kind of like you said, that cycle of ups and downs, where it's like sometimes you feel like you can do it all, you got it all together, and everything is just going and it's good. And it's not necessarily that you feel super strong, but it feels like you got it together. Like, this is easy. Everybody can do this. Anybody can do this. Like, who wouldn't be able to do this? And then within seconds, because I'm not even gonna say the next day or the next hour, it could be within
Right.
seconds. You're kind of like, everything's spinning out of control. I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm gonna get the strength to manage and handle all of this. And it's like, because people look at you as the rock, the solid foundation, or the strength so often, you forget that it's okay to have a moment of being weak, that it's
Right.
okay to say, I need help, that it's okay to say, I don't think I can do this by myself.
Right.
Um, and for me, I would have to say that that's hard sometimes. It's hard for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons is control. Um,
Mhm.
I like to be in control. I like to know what's going on. I like to know how this ride is going to go and what turns we're going to take. And if I can't predict it and I can't see where this ride is going, I'm probably ready to jump ship, because I'm not with surprises unless they're good surprises. Like, if you're planning like a surprise for my birthday, I'll take it. But like, if it's like a surprise, like, and you want me to be like, oh, I love that idea, that's a great idea, I'm probably gonna be skeptical of your idea until I can see it in its
Absolutely.
full. Like, give me the whole picture. Don't be giving me parts. So, when I feel like that's when I lose my strength, is when I cannot see where something is going or how it's going to go. Um,
Okay.
so it's important to me, in maintaining strength, in kind of having a map and kind of knowing how things are going to go. And when those things start to go left and haywire, that's when I feel like the world is just coming to a crumbling, tumbling end. And I'm a little bit dramatic on that end too, because I would absolutely act like the world is coming to a crumbling, tumbling end. And you'll be like, they just told you to make a detour, girl. They didn't tell you that the destination changed. Like, what are you doing? but but that's who I am by nature. So I think the people who love me most kind of just go on the ride with me when, when I go left.
Okay. Vanessa?
When it gets bad for me, it's probably the world is probably ended, because I'm not really gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna really ask nobody to help. I'm not really gonna, like, I'm gonna do everything humanly possible to attempt to figure it out on my own. Um, by the time I ask for help or feel that I should, I'm probably, like, they hand me out and that's all you see, like in the water. You see like their fingers, or they in quicksand and all you can see is like they. That is me all day long, every day. Like I don't share, I don't say anything. I just be like trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out, trying to figure it out on my own. It's very rare that I will just, be like, oh, I think this is starting to get away from me a little bit. I might need to call in, the cavalry or reinforcements or anything like that. I'm usually way far too gone. Um, but as far as the strength goes, I do feel like I have a very supportive system. So I think if someone's around or, like they see me or I text something weird, like everybody can kind of pick up on, you okay? Because, you just, something don't seem like it's right. And then, maybe in that moment I may, like be, to share or anything like that. But for me, the strength for me now is being able to not be okay with something and know that if and when I do decide to share, like Samantha said, like there's no judgment, it's a judgment free zone. Like I do have people in my circle that, I'm definitely comfortable with to say, hey, look, today, today. Yeah, that, you know, just throw it all away. Can we stop right here, right now? Let's what is it? Final scene cut. Like right here. I'm throwing a flag on the play. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we can pick up where we left off at, but for me, for now, that's it. So I think because of all that I've been through in my life, like I think I just kind of figure it out. I never focus on how bad it is for me. Like I said, until it's too late. Like people will say, like, I've worked 80 hours in a week sometime, or like, when my dad passed, like I left, I went to Florida, like I never stopped moving. I like threw myself into everything that I could. And I never like if I always say like if I stop to really think about all the stuff I got my hands in and all that I got going on, then I'm really gonna lose it. Like, cause how do you function? How do you keep going? How do you keep maintaining? And I think the strength of a woman is just the fact that you kind of feel like you don't really have much of a choice. Like, I gotta get these things done. I gotta make sure that, everybody else is good and I'll worry about me later. And usually, you put yourself on the back burner. So it's a lot.
So like, being a woman, is that something though that, like you said, you feel like you gotta be okay for everybody else? Because, like, okay, all of us are mothers and y'all have more kids than I do. I got two. So, like I got one that is, to be honest, he's like the most maintenance free kid ever. Like he is the easiest kid. But my daughter, she needs twice the maintenance of like of a normal kid. So like is the things that we push ourselves to do, is this like is this self-driven? Like, like you said, it's like we feel like if I don't do it, it got to be done. Is it really what, like one of those things, like if I don't do it, like the world is going to crash? Or is that like our own mind and thought process that pushes us into that space? And I only ask because, like, I be in that mode with God, almost everything. Shanae can tell you I be in the kitchen and doing 15 things. And she like, can I help? No, I got it. I got it. And I'll be running around like a crazy person. But in my mind, all I'm thinking is if I don't do it, like, it's not gonna be right. And I've gotten to the point where I have to talk to myself in the moment, like, girl, take a breath. Like, it's gonna be all right. The apocalypse is not gonna happen. So I'm just wondering, like, for you ladies, do you feel like this is something somebody else has put on you, or is this like something you've put on yourself?
I think for me, it was setting my own standards of what I needed to be the one doing versus what I could relinquish for somebody else to do.
Okay.
And then I think as I built those standards, my family became dependent upon certain things, because I set the standard here, I set the bar here, like, you know, I have to do it this way, I have to do this. So it was just kind of like, oh, this is the way we always do it. So then if you don't show up, if you don't do it that way, everybody's looking at you like, but why did you not do that? I can remember, for example, and this really doesn't have anything to do with strength, but it kind of has to do with setting the standards. There was a time when my kids were younger, I would fix everybody's plate for dinner. Literally, like, you know, we're about to sit down to dinner, I'm gonna fix everybody's plate and sit it on the table. You come sit down, you come sit down, you come sit down, let's eat. Versus just leaving food on the stove cooked and, like, you know, come fix your plate, eat when you will. And there had been times where I would cook and then be like, y'all can go eat, and they would kind of be looking like, what you mean y'all can go eat? Like, you're not gonna fix our plates? And one of my kids probably like came right out and said it, and probably was like, you not gonna fix our plates? No, I'm not gonna fix your plate. Go fix your own plate. And they kind of looking at me like, this is weird, this is not what we do, this is not how you normally do it. Because that standard was something that I put upon myself. They never, you know, they didn't come out the womb like, mommy, you must fix my plate all the time. Like, yeah. It was just something that I had been doing that I never relinquished to them. And then when I did, they were kind of looking like, you're being weird. Why would you make us do it ourselves? Why all of a sudden now would you require this of me? And I think that that's what we do sometimes with standards that we set, or standards that we have in our lives. We've set the standard. Well, I have, for me, I've set a standard, and then now I'm worn out. And maybe I'm not worn out because of this, but I'm worn out because of work, or I'm worn out because I just don't feel good. I'm worn out because, like, I'm just overwhelmed. I have a lot going on. So I'm trying to do something different, but there's an expectation of me to be a part of every other thing. So stretching yourself, you know, to meet the expectations that are out there, I think is where we tend to kind of sell ourselves short. And sometimes we kind of wear ourselves out doing some of those things. But I definitely know I set some expectations that caused me to have to operate a certain way within my family, within who I was to other people. And I had to learn how to draw back some of those things as things changed. Because I mean, you know, even as you, like, with raising your kids, and, you know, your kids growing up and how needy they may be in the beginning, where you have to kind of teach them independence and teach them how to survive with things on their own. There's certain things that, yeah, I've taught my kids, but I guarantee you, it's a little TikTok out, at the slightest inconvenience, I'm gonna call my mama. That is where my daughter lives. At the slightest inconvenience, she is gonna call her mama. Like, she don't care what I'm doing. I could be in the middle of teaching a class. She will call me 50 times like she is about to die. That is going to make me answer my phone. And I'm like, hello, are you okay? Are you still living? And she's like, yes, I have a question and I need your help. Girl, I thought you was about to die. Like, you still living? Cause no, what are you doing? But I mean, that's the and I love that, because I love that she, you know, thinks and needs to hear my voice in order to confirm something. But I do know that there are certain things where it's kind of like I have to be like, fly, birdie, and just push her out the nest. So you know, depends on what day of the week it is, if I'm gonna push her or if I'm just gonna be like, okay, let me go get it for you and do it.
Well, a while back, this was some years ago, I got really sick, and my kids were they were a lot younger, and I was living in Georgia, and you know, as a single parent, you know, I do everything for my kids, and created a safe space for them to develop independence. And it wasn't because I really wanted to, but because of how my life was, they had to have a certain amount of independence, but still being mom and still feeling the burden to be able to do all. it was so surprising to me that me being sick for like 3 or 4 days, they were still okay when I got out the hospital. When I got home, like, nobody died, like nobody was, like in my head, it was like, every day with them was like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. I can't, and it was eye-opening and jaw-dropping to realize that the world did not revolve around whatever it was I did for them, whoever I felt that I was to them and what they needed. And it was kind of an eye-opener to me, like the world is not going to stop turning if you can't do something or you can't be somewhere or what have you. And I know I have made extreme sacrifices. I think I've gone way above and way beyond so many times for my children, for other family, friends. Like I've always overextended myself um, for any and everybody. And so now that I pull back, they look a little strange too. Like you, yeah, nah, bro, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't care. I'm not, I'm no longer interested in being in the mom of the year club. I'm not, interested in being on the top of anybody's list for anything anymore. Like I've shifted a lot of that for me because I've sacrificed so much up until this point. So as I begin to accomplish things in my own right, like it has changed my perspective and has forced everyone around me to shift their orbit. And it's a lot because, like you were saying, Shanetta, the expectations are still there and they still expect and they, you should always do. And even like my son to this day, he's 19. And he'd be like, well, I didn't ask to be here, so you should just cook certain things and do it. And I just be looking like, dude, you know how to cook? Like, if I don't cook this day or this whatever, you are more than welcome to go in. And he'd be like, yeah, no, I don't think, like, 19, you still, Mom, what's for dinner? I worked all day and you haven't. So what's for dinner is whatever you're interested in putting together. Like, I don't cook 5 and 6 times a week like I did back in the day. Maybe twice a week. I don't know. It just depends on what kind of mood I'm in when I get home. So I've definitely, in my older age, I've definitely shifted and changed some things. Why you keep making that face? What's wrong? Oh, because we can't. Oh,
Yeah,
we can't hear you.
I hear you.
Did you mute yourself or something?
I don't know. We'll just keep going. When you just said your son will ask you what's for dinner when my daughter is home from school. When I say every night she will send me, like every afternoon she'll send me a text. What's for dinner? Girl, you are 22. You tell me what's for dinner.
Right. Like, how about listen, I'll even buy what you want to eat. Buy
What
all
do you want to go to the store and get? Like you make the decision, you cook it, let me come home, and like you're like, mommy, look what I did for us today.
no, not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. They are these kids
Yeah.
just be looking like, and
Yeah.
y'all know my kids now my last one, Julian, I don't know, he ain't really get in the kitchen too much and do anything. I guess maybe because once you get close to the end, I guess a lot.
You just slacked up. Like, listen, the last ones
You
are
on
so
cruise control by the end. So he's not
yeah.
he's not like agile, and it's so weird because like even stuff like that, like my older kids, like they're more hands on, like they can fix
Mhm.
stuff, they can maneuver things. Like we had an issue with the dryer and it just wasn't working. Now I've always been the son my dad never had, so I always knew how to fix stuff, do things like
Mhm.
that. So my son called me and was like, "My the dryer's not working." I'm like, "Oh wow, that's weird." So I came home and I looked at it, looked around a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna go on YouTube and check it out." And he figured it out. Them last two, not gonna happen. They
No.
just they're gonna be like, "Are you gonna call somebody?" Because we can't not. We went to now. I don't like going to the laundromat either. Shanetta, we went to the laundromat And he was just, my younger kid was like,
what in the world? Where do you have us? What you got us out here doing?
It's like, oh my God, did you bring wipes to wipe it out first? Because everybody puts their stuff in. And I'm like, good stuff so we can get out of here. Like, set the standard. I mean, is that more appropriate than saying we've spoiled them? Because my kids are absolutely rotten. And I just
mine are rotten too. I would agree. Absolutely. 100%. Like, it's just like, I look at them sometimes and I'm like, yep, we did that. Yep, that's all my fault. Like, I can't point the finger at nobody. I can't blame nobody else. I'm just like, yeah, look at the little monsters I created. Here we are. I'm sorry.
Right. That part. Because I be looking at mine like, yeah, I really make y'all this, like, you know.
Like, I'm so sorry that this is how it's going, but this is how this thing is going. Because, like, he gonna eat a bowl of cereal because he waiting on me to cook. Like, I don't know.
Mine will be like, ain't no food in the house. All I had to eat was the cereal. You ate. That is the key word here. There's plenty of food. It's just not cooked. But you ate. Right. You all right? Like,
right. Like, this food in the freezer, you could have took something out and.
Oh, they're not. Oh, yeah, that's never gonna happen. You can hang that up.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes. Welcome back.
I'm so sorry. We went all off on a tangent.
Listen, I know when when they get into talking about the kids, you can go for days and days and days because it's always something. I don't know. I knocked my lamp off and then from there it all went downhill. But of course, you know, the husband has to call me like, do this. I'm trying. But we're back. I did want to say, so I noticed how both of y'all was saying, you know, you realized that you didn't quite have to do everything, and so you know the world didn't stop spinning, and you were kind of okay. Like, I'm trying to figure out how did you get to that point, because like, you know, a couple of things in the last couple of weeks, like I felt like I went into the situation like, you know what? I don't have to do everything, like, because this person can do that and that person can do, you know, like everybody could jump in and then nobody jumped. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I wound up being forced kind of into a position where I didn't really expect to be, you know, because I thought it would go different. Like, even with my daughter with volleyball, I'm like, okay, I don't have to go to every game. She'll be all right. But then, you know, she was like having meltdowns and, Mommy, you're not going to be in my game. And, you know, and all the light skin things that she does. Like, you know, so like, I'd be wondering, like, how do you navigate those moments as a parent, as a mother, and still like walk away feeling, you know, not still feeling accomplished, like feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this mom thing, you know, like, because like I felt myself, you know, I pulled in so many directions trying to, okay, well, I'll go here for a minute, then I'll run over there, you know, like, and I was doing that for a good minute, like, and I'm just thinking like, okay, this can't be like, I am the whole time in my head, I'm thinking like I gotta be doing something wrong because, you know, there's no time for anything outside of answering somebody else's whims or whines or needs. Like, so how do you guys navigate, or how did you navigate those moments where it got to like, oh, okay, whatever, you know, or not whatever, but it'll be okay.
I think for me, I think it all kind of stems from how we were raised. I know for me, a lot of things that I did for my kids, the spaces that I made was I wanted to do something different from the way my parents did it, or maybe I did it just like my parents did. And so I've created these situations where, you know, I want my kids to have more than I had. And, you know, I'm going to create this opportunity and I'm going to give them this and I'm going to give them that and not have that balance. So if you don't have the balance, then the scales are always going to be tipped to you going, I won't say overboard or above or beyond, because that just doesn't sound like, the right thing to say, but you kind of, do that. I know for me, now that my kids are older and us talking about, like, some of their perspective of things and what I didn't notice or what I didn't see when I thought, I made the right decision or I did the best that I could. I think a lot of times the pressure is just what we kind of put on ourselves to exceed and be the best, not really having a true definition of what that looks like, because we're not perfect, but when it comes to our children, we try to get as close as we possibly can. And like I said, for me, now that I wish I would have had more balance when they were younger, but there were times when I was forced in the corner. It was like, hey, look, I'm just not going to be able to do it. It's just me. I just can't. And I had to sit with whatever the feelings was that I had. But now that I'm old, it's like, they turned out okay. Like, it's okay to say no. It's okay to have that. Yeah, look, I know you really want it, but yeah, it's not gonna happen. And you have to be okay with knowing that you're still the best mom, you're still the best wife, you're still the best mother, you're still the best friend, sister, even when you say no, because at some point you gotta think, like, everybody, in my opinion, has a moment that they should be selfish. At some point, you gotta say, I just can't. And when you don't have that balance, that's really how you get thrown off. Your children aren't gonna ever always be told yes by anybody, and you know what I'm saying? Like, those are unrealistic expectations that, like, again, like, we put on ourselves based on, some of our rearing, the lack thereof, or the over part of it.
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Vanessa said. I think that the key question is, but are you gonna die if we don't do this? No, okay, you'll be fine. And sometimes that no has to be put there because you do need time to just kind of be. It may not be a particular thing that you need. Like, we talk about self-care all the time, and we're like, everybody needs to, take time out for self-care. But sometimes self-care is just sitting and just saying, yeah, I'm not coming, I'm not doing that. I don't care how many flips you turn or how many whines or groans or moans. Yeah, it's a no for me. I'm just not going to do it. And that's okay when you make that choice to do that. It doesn't have, it shouldn't be all the time, because of course we want to do things, for our kids. We want to make sure we're there. We want to make sure they feel supported. We want to make sure that we're paying attention to them and that we're raising them, and not just, have created and allow them to flap around this world and not give them anything. We've created these people. So yes, we have to do the work that it takes to make them the humans that we desire for them to be. But it's okay for you not to be at every single thing. I can remember when my kids were little, when I think back on some of the stuff that we did for our kids when they were younger, I really asked myself several questions, like, one, what in the world were we thinking? And two, how did we even afford to do all that? Because, like, we're still, like, not really, that, like, I mean, we do all right, but, like, we ain't balling out like that. Like, what was we doing? Don't know. My sister jokes all the time and says, like, she has a daughter that's a senior now. She was like, I don't really know what y'all was doing when y'all had all them kids back to back, but I'm convinced that Mike was a drug dealer. And I'm like, my husband was not a drug dealer. I know what you're talking about. She was like, I don't know how y'all was affording all this. This is crazy. This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, it is kind of crazy. I don't really know how we did it all either. But, through the grace of God, we survived. We made it, still making it. But I will say that there are some moments that I'm like, yeah, they were okay with me missing that. It did not change their perspective of me as a mom. It didn't make me less than a great mom. And my kids will tell you, like, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I thought it was that day, but really wasn't that big of a deal. Like, we all lived, we survived it. It's cool. I don't think that we make the decisions that we make to say no because we're being mean. We make the decisions that we make to say no because either we just can't, or we just don't feel like it. And sometimes you just don't feel like it, and that's okay. Kids are needy. I'm not gonna tell you, like, there is no magic pill that you can pop and or slip in their little drinks to make them like stop being so needy. Like, I wish it was, because I probably would have, like, had plenty of it on stock, but they're just needy people, and you just have to pick and choose when you're gonna say, you know what, no, we're not gonna do that this time. Plenty of things that we just chose not to do, and because it was a lot, and it was just like, we can't manage this. We had 3 kids at one time in Little League. I can remember they were 1 cheerleader, 2 football players. These people had these schedules where these children were at 3 different parks on the same day within like an hour of each other. First of all, it's only 2 of us. It's only 2 whole adults. Like, how was I supposed to even make that happen? And it was just kind of like, the balancing act and trying to figure out, where do we go? Which child do we say to, hey, mommy and daddy are not coming? Mommy and daddy can't be there because we have to be here. So it was literally a choice, and making a choice to, like, okay, either we're going to split time and we're going to say, I'm going to do, or we're just going to say, Now, there were moments where I wanted to tell all 3 of them, I'm not coming to none of that. How about you go find a ride with your auntie. You go find your auntie. You go find your uncle. I don't want to do none of it. But you got to do something, right? But I mean, like, you go to the recital and listen to the kids, play their little instruments.
Oh my gosh.
You go listen to the little kids sing the little, airy chorus songs that you're just kind of like, who's teaching? Like, what are y'all singing? No, the words. You go to the Little League game where the kids are just running up and down the field, and it's hot outside, and you have no idea what's happening in this game because it's just hot out here, and these kids just running up and down the field. You go to the hot, stinky gym and watch the kid. Like, you just go, like, you do, and you do, and you do. But I do think it's super important along the path of doing all these things that you take a moment and stop, however that stopping looks for you. Whether that stopping looks like you sitting in your car for 10 minutes by yourself, eating your favorite snack or drinking your favorite milkshake or whatever, or whether that stopping looks like, hey, it's Saturday. I know you have this, you have that, and Dad, you have this. How about all of y'all go? You drop them kids off, sir, and I'm going to sit right here in this bed and just recover today because I need to recover. I think we do overcommit ourselves sometimes, and we don't even know it. We don't even see it. Like, we don't even know that it has happened. And what I'm learning in my 40s is that if you don't stop your own body, your body is going to stop you. And that you have to take moments to stop and to just be like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. And then when I need to do it, I just need to do it. I said today, I had to take off today to wait for a repairman. And I felt bad at first. I literally was feeling bad because I was like, I'm taking off the kids, at school, and I got to get this assignment done with them. It's the end of the year. We're getting ready for testing. And then I thought about it. I was like, I am 99% sure that my coworkers, when they be randomly not coming to work, do not care. Right. They do not care. Exactly. And I'm sitting here worried about it. And I was like, I'm not going to worry about it. They're going to be okay. And guess what? That school did not burn down because I was it didn't. Them kids, they're going to be there tomorrow when I get there. And either they did the work or they didn't do the work. And tomorrow, guess what? If they didn't do the work, make them do double work tomorrow. Because now you got to do yesterday's work because you didn't do it when I wasn't here. That's on you. That's not my problem. That's your problem. So seriously have to learn how to just be like, yeah, no, I can't do it. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to overwork myself in this moment. And sometimes you don't get that choice, but there has to be times where you take the choice.
And I think that's really important because in what you were saying, one point you said sometimes it's a no because you're forced to, because you hit a hard stop in the road. But sometimes you've got to make the choice to say no. You know what I'm saying? Like now, when people ask me to do stuff, I'll be like, let me look at my calendar and see before I just go ahead and say, yes, I'm going to do this. I leave my options open. And even when people be like, oh, well, if you're going to do this, we're going to do whatever, whatever. And so I've even gotten to the point now where I'll be like, okay. I kind of don't even take all of that into consideration to make a decision, because I can't always move based on what you say you're going to do or you're not going to do as well. You know what I'm saying? Because that may be a whole spiral and detriment to all parties involved, depending on how that may work out. So you really have to start thinking like, let me block off some time. Like you say, even if it's 10 minutes. I know when my kids were small and I couldn't afford to buy fast food for everybody, I'm going to sit in this car right here and eat these french fries and this milkshake and sit in this car for an extra 10 minutes, get myself together, wipe my face, throw my food out, or leave it in the car till tomorrow.
And go in the house and cook dinner. Like, ain't that bad, man?
And everybody get voila for dinner. That's how that situation is going to go. I think we learn all of those little defense mechanisms, but we only pull them out in a crunch. We only pull them out like when we absolutely have to. It's not anything that we've learned to build in to our lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about your first kid to your last kid. You know what I'm saying? The different things you did, the first one they get, all the baths and all the new stuff and the this and the that. And by the time you get to the third, when you be like, hey, anybody got any hand-me-down, any old this? Because what I'm not gonna do is spend $1,000 that I don't have on, So I think, as you go and you grow, you kind of start to learn certain things and figure them out. But I just think, just based on life, your personality, your demeanor, that you just do just because. Like it, after a while, it's like you on autopilot. You're not even, like you said, Chanel, you're not even realizing all of the things that you've committed yourself to, all the people. If I say no, you eventually it'll be okay. I mean, maybe not in this particular moment. I might feel bad for a little bit. I'm like that about work too, because I'm, frontline defense kind of job where, if I don't go, what's gonna happen to them? They're gonna be all right. Somebody else gonna do it.
Yep. You know how the older people say, and real super sanctified people, when you ask them, like, can you do A, B, C, and D, or can you come do this? And they be like, if it's the Lord's will, Lord's willing. So when I think about that, like,
and the creek
thinking about it in my mind right now, I'm like, well, is it the Lord's will that I even be doing all this? Because, like, I don't know if the Lord is pleased with me doing all this. Like, I'm wearing myself out. Is the Lord pleased with me wearing myself out? I don't know. Maybe that's how we need to start thinking. Like, if it's the Lord's, and maybe that's how we need to start answering questions. Like, the super sanctified people, Lord's willing, I'll let you know if the Lord's will. Because then you can just come back and be like, the Lord said no.
Like, yeah, I don't think
it wasn't me. The Lord told me not to do that.
Not the Lord told you. Please don't start using that one. Leave the Lord out of it. So do you think, like, I've heard people say, how women grow up, well, as a girl, typically they say, you're taught certain things, and like as a guy, you're taught certain things. So do you think like this self-sacrificing thing is taught to us in one way or another as we grow being women? Do you think it's like, like the role that we like, yeah, that's the role that you belong in, and somehow subconsciously, like, you find yourself there? Or do you think this is like, just us?
I think it comes from how you were raised and what you liked and didn't like about how you were raised.
Right.
What traumatized you and what made you feel like you were safe. The things that made you feel safe, you're probably trying to implement those same things in your adult life or in your parenting life, and the things that traumatized you are the things that you're trying to make sure you don't do, and the things that you're trying to make sure don't happen to your children, or you don't do those things as an adult. So I think it's displayed to us. It's not necessarily like, hey, here's a lesson in everything that a mother should be. Here's a lesson in everything that a wife should be. Sometimes there are those, here's a lesson in everything that a wife should be at church. But however, however, you I think a lot of stuff is displayed to us, and that's where we are like, I am not good enough, because I don't do A, B, C, and D. And it makes us feel like, we're less than. Whereas there is no perfect roadmap to some of these things. And you have to figure out what works best for you. I heard there's a lady I know. So you know how we're taught that the wife is supposed to cook and clean and take care of the kids and do all the things. Like that's a part of the list of things that we're taught as, a good wife. That's what we have to do. But then what happens when you have a husband who really enjoys cooking and the wife don't know how to cook that well? Is she still required to like make the slop that she makes when he cooks well? Like, no, like let's switch, let's switch those roles, because nobody wants to eat that every night. Like
we don't want that.
He cook well.
We don't want you to cook, mama. Sit down, rest your hands.
Right, like we don't want you to do this. So like I think that like you have to do what works for you versus the list of things that people are saying this is what looks good, this is what you have to do. But I think that some stuff does come from that overall what made us feel safe and what made us feel unsafe as young people.
I will say, I did tell my husband that I would not embarrass him. Now that he's doing all the things in church. So I'm gonna let your church comment slide because I promised him that I wasn't.
I didn't make those promises, so like I'll say all the things that we're thinking.
Listen, I did. I promised him that I was not gonna get us kicked out of church, and that I was gonna do right this year. So I'm not gonna let you shake me from my promise.
I'm not gonna shake you either. I'm not even gonna tempt you into it. Nope.
I felt like that was a setup, but we gonna let that slide. It's funny, like to just think about some of the things. Growing up, somebody is very popular tonight.
I'm so sorry. I gotta how to disconnect my phone from my computer, because that's what that is. It's ringing on my phone and my computer's just. I'm like, oh,
they want you bad, girl. They want you bad.
Don't worry. Me and Cyrus gonna talk about how to unsync these two devices because
I will say it's interesting to think about all the different things growing up, like at some point, you looked at something, either it was on TV or somebody and you was like, oh, I'll never be that. You know what I'm saying? Or when I get older, I'm gonna be that. Like you say all these things, and now to be the nice ripe age that I am, I just looking back over the different seasons of my life and the different things, that I said or that I wanted to be as a person. I often find it like really interesting just how much, I've shifted from maybe not necessarily that child, but like that young woman to, like the person I am right now. Like even promising my husband to behave, that's a big thing for me too, like just to behave myself. As one would say, like that, that for me is even um, just a different, we'll say a different avenue that I'm taking in these ripe years that I am. So ladies, do you look back and think about those things sometimes? Who you said as a person, like not job wise or whatever, but just the type of woman that you thought you would be, or maybe the type of woman that back in the day you thought you should be? Do you ever think about those things or compare that to who you are today?
I do. I definitely do.
That was it.
I know. I'm looking like
I
Like,
elaborate. No, that's it. It's just I was wondering, like, so maybe it was just a yes or no question. I don't know.
yeah, I was thinking, was that a yes or no question?
Yeah, it sounded like
I definitely do think about that and think about how I developed some of the mindsets that and things that I implemented for my family. And kind of like see, did I measure up? Did I do okay? Some days I'm like, I did okay, like I did, what I set out to do. And then other days my children make me question whether I raised them right at all. So it just depends on the day of the week as to whether or not I feel like I measure up. But I think that there was a kind of like a combination of different people that had the impacts on what I thought I wanted to display, what I thought I wanted to be, and
Okay.
how to carry all of that out. A lot of what I decided not to do or how I decided to move was built on the things that made me feel uncomfortable and unsafe as a young person. Stability was a big deal to me, and a home in a community was a big deal to me. And that was built upon not having those things as a young person. Like I was telling Mike not long ago, probably said it multiple times throughout the time that we've been together, is that in my mind, if your family owned a home, I don't care where that home was or what kind of home it was, y'all were rich because y'all owned a home. Like,
oh my gosh.
y'all had a house. Like, this is where you live. Like, you could literally drive somebody in a car back to the place where you live. You were rich. I don't really care what kind of neighborhood it is. You could be getting bullet holes shot through your window every day. Y'all owned that house. And that was just my interpretation as being a child that moved around frequently, because that wasn't what my parents had. That wasn't what they were able to do. And so for me, my one of my goals was I got to get a house. Like I got to get a place that these kids can call home, that belongs to them, that belongs to us. And we're going to have, like, so then I had this image of what that house needed to look like, not to, impress anybody, but for me, because this is what I felt like was the things that you needed to provide stability to your kids. Everybody needed a room. Everybody needed, their own bed. Everybody needed their own closet. Like there were things that, because I didn't have that necessarily, that was what I was looking to create and to build for my children and for my family and for what I thought and felt like success looked like. So the measuring stick came from multiple different views of things. And I did go hard to kind of hold myself to the standard. And when I felt like I was failing, man, nobody had to be hard on me, because I was hard on me, because I felt like I wasn't doing what I set out to do. And that was more of a punishment than anybody could ever, shake their finger at me and say, you're not measuring up. You're not being a good mom, a good wife, a good provider. You're not. Nobody ever would have had to do that to me. Now I would have dared somebody to do that to me, because like, what you're not going to do is judge how I'm raising my children. but nonetheless, like that was the, like, so yeah, it's even now as a parent to young adults, I still am wondering, am I doing this right in comparison to what I see that other people do, or the people that I'm using as my model for this life? Am I getting it right? It's definitely a question that I still ask myself.
So I will say really quick for me, like it was definitely the house, but it was a two-parent household. Like if you had two parents,
Yeah.
like I'm telling you, Vanessa used to be like complaining about stuff. Like when we was young, I'd be like, girl, shut up. Like you got a mama and a daddy. Like, where did you find those at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, You even Anthony, like I be telling him, he talk about different things from his upbringing. I'm like, you had a mother and a father, and y'all had a house, like and and I feel the same way. Like to me, those two top things, you don't have no complaints.
No
Like
problem.
you have no right. Your life is perfect. I don't care what you say. Your life is perfect. Like that was always my thing growing up. I didn't understand the friends that I had that were like, "Oh, my mom and my dad get on my nerves." Like, how? Make it make sense. I just couldn't fathom that. Okay, but that's like you go ahead.
Um. What was the question again?
Lord Jesus. So the question was, do you ever look at, the type of woman you thought you would be as opposed to the woman that you are? Like, do you ever make a comparison, look back at those things, just who you are as a person, like not career wise and all that stuff, but just the type of a woman that you've become?
I think my parents have always kind of instilled like if you want something, work hard and get it. So I think for me, the level of independence that I've always tried to have growing up has evolved. It's taken different directions now that I'm older, but I think for me, it was just kind of always striving to be the best at whatever it was that I was doing. I think a lot of times we don't even really know what we're doing for real, what should it look like. But like I've always wanted to be um, progressive. I always wanted to make sure that I had everything that I needed, that I was always self-sufficient, that I was independent. That was like for me like always. So that as much as I could help it has been the constant, is that I be independent. And it's okay to need other people but for stuff, but I've always wanted to be that person that everybody else could lean on or that they could depend on. So for me, that that has always been a part of me as a woman. But now that I'm older, again, like I don't care to be on the top of anybody's good whatever list. Like for me, like at this big age now, I'm like, okay, yeah, you don't think I'm a
Did you
great
say
mom?
big age?
Big age, big grown old age. Uh, like at this point for me, it's just like I'm gonna do the things that make me happy. And you think about, you know, your roles as a woman. What does that mean? I know earlier you said something about, the traditional roles of things. In my household, that really wasn't how it was. Like my dad hurt his back very early on. I can't say early on in their marriage, early on in my childhood. Let's just say that. And so for years my mom worked and my dad did the other stuff. He cooked, he cleaned. He said he would do everything but the windows. Don't never ask this man about cleaning nobody's windows. He was not going to do that. But for a while in my household, the roles were reversed. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom did all the work. She cooked sometimes too. She's a really good cook. But dad cooked more. He was there. Homework. He's there with the kids, that sort of thing. So for me, I kind of grew up to see that it didn't necessarily have to look a particular way, and my mother never attempted to make my dad feel less of a man. Like because he stayed home and did all of that, I never was embarrassed to say, "Oh yeah, my dad cooked. My dad is, he's a stay-at-home dad or what have you." Like for me, that was never, an issue because I saw the dynamics of the two of them together. So I think looking at, what my parents did in our household, how they, complemented each other with how they were able to continue and maneuver. Like for me, all I always saw was stability. Was if you work hard, and my parents always, that was short lived because that man wanted to have two jobs and she always had two jobs. I don't even know how they stayed together for 40 years because there were so many times, like it was only like maybe Saturday or Sunday that we actually were always together, but I never felt like I missed anything. Like my parents were around, or my mom didn't do the mother daughter thing, or talk to me about certain things. So I just think they both were able to shape that idea that if you work hard, you can have it. And that's always been, I think I challenge myself more to that now, to just really be in competition with me, to like, okay, you didn't do this then, let's get it done now. And so I've definitely kind of moved things around a little bit, but independence and being strong and just like always kind of move forward has been like the one constant thing.
Yeah.
So we have a past that 9 o'clock mark, but I did want to end by saying, hopefully, something in this conversation has inspired you to realize that mainly being an individual is a complex and ever changing thing, but definitely being a woman, because we are women. We were born women, birth biologically, however you want to put it, 100% woman. And it looks different on each of us. Um, the type of woman I am is no
Right.
less than the type of woman Vanessa is, and nor is the type of woman Shanetta is any less than Vanessa's. Although we have a lot of similarities, we also have a lot of differences, but we're all equal. We're all women. We all are complex and ever changing and beautiful. So, whatever your story may look like right now, if it's like mine right now, if I had to pin a season to my life, it would be tornado season, because that's how I feel. Things are spinning and I'm ducking and I'm diving, but I'm continuously moving. And sometimes that's what it looks like. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, keep it moving. Bob and weave, whatever you need to do in the moment, it's okay. So, we hope that this conversation just helps you to feel inspired and gain a strength that maybe you didn't know you had. Maybe you heard something like, oh, okay, I'm doing better than that. Oh, yeah, I didn't do this. It's all about being able to empower and encourage each other. So that is always the goals of our conversations, to empower and encourage ourselves first, and then definitely to all the women that may or may not listen. But men, there are some things that you can be inspired and encouraged about too, because at the end of the day, we are all people. Um, you know, and we all have that thing called life happening. So if you could hear it, if you could see it, you got life happening. Your life may look a little different, but it's still life. And the goal is to live it to the best of our capabilities. We are typically, you know what? We are on every Thursday at 8 p.m. We are back and we are going to remain faithful to the things that are in our hands. And right now, Sisters of Legacy is one of those things. So we will see you guys next Thursday at 8 p.m. And until then, stay safe.
Thank you